Why failing quicker is sometimes the answer. We're going to talk about this today and some tips for you for working through this. Welcome back to the Men's Mental Health podcast. So, why am I talking about this subject? Where's this come from? I was thinking about this the other day. Well, I think a lot, obviously, as a human being. And I was thinking about my experiences even this year and obviously throughout my life as well, whereby I've done something that's not worked out. Whether that was a situation or some kind of circumstance of a person or whatever it was, right? And I've realised that it's taken me on to new paths in my life. And sometimes something has seemed right in my life, and then I've gone down that path and it wasn't for me, but that it's taken me on to something else. Now, it doesn't mean it's like taking you on to your dreams straight away or where you want to be or the magical thing shows up. But I've certainly discovered that by taking more action in my life and being willing to fail at things, that's created me a lot more results than thinking about things and deciding whether they're right for me or not has done. Because you learn by experience, but you don't learn by thinking about things and wondering if they're going to work out or not. That's what I've certainly discovered. I didn't even think about that catchphrase, if that's a catchphrase. You can quote me on that, but I just created that then. I like that. Anyway, I thought about like situations like recently. I took on a sales role and like the person's amazing who I was working with, and she's got amazing work, what she's doing to the world and doing with the world and helping a lot of people. And I was like, this is ideal because I love doing the sales role. I have in the past in some cases, not always. And I like what she's doing. This is ideal. And I jumped into this, not thinking about it too much, and it didn't quite work out. And it wasn't at the fault of either of us. It just was something that just at the end of the day, even though logically it made sense and felt good originally, it was something that didn't quite work out. And actually, it's taken me on to more of my passions now. I've done things before in like jobs, and I thought this would be ideal for me. And actually, it wasn't. I went from HR to project management, and actually that took me down a path. And I wouldn't have discovered these things or more things about myself if I didn't make an attempt. There's many people like, and in talking of sales, like many people, of course, are like, oh, I'm thinking about it. I need to make sure it's right for me. Now, the people, I'm just going to call this out, and I've been there. I've been one of them who's jumped into things and it's worked out, sometimes doesn't. The people like, I'm thinking about it, is it the right thing for me? I'm thinking, I'm researching, are the ones who often don't go very far in life. I'm just going to call that out. The ones who jump into things when they feel like it's good for them and they know logically they can do it to some degree are the ones who succeed. Like I've spoken to people I'll come back to like a year later, they're still thinking about it and they're still like, oh, I don't know if I can do this or not. And that's why people get so stuck, because they think about things rather than being willing to have a go and fail. But actually failure is not the opposite of success, as many people say. It is just the path to it. So I really wanted to talk about this because we often think negatively of like failure. Oh, what if I mess up? What are people going to think of you? Well, I'll tell you what, the biggest failure for me would not be that. The biggest failure for me is if I got to the end of my life and went, oh, I wish I took more chances, because I can't do much then. I cannot go back in time, right? But when you attempt more things and you have a go at things, that's when success starts showing up more, I found in my life. So I want to go through a few lessons or tips for you on this. If you're someone who's really, if you're a man who's really struggling with like, I don't want to fail. And as a man, just like, it can be, we have sometimes this ego, this status of like, oh, I don't want to look bad. I don't want to look bad in terms of my stats. And we live in this very ego focused world. You know, there are some great people, but it's all about like numbers and stats and these kind of things. And I'm in it, right? I'm in like, I've run like business. I've done like sales. You have to use numbers, and of course you're going to use it for your credibility. But when it becomes too much of a focus, we get so scared of doing anything new in an attempt that like it's going to mess it up. But actually, that I found has disconnected me from my heart and doesn't allow me to move forward and discover more of me and enjoy life as a result. So here's a few tips for you. I'm going to give you 4 things. Number one, know it's part of your journey. Know that you have to fail at things in order to succeed. Now, I'm not talking about going out and deliberately messing things up, but if you know it's coming anyway, but you also know success will come along the way somewhere, then how good does that make you feel that you can move forward, right? And that actually there is going to be success. But knowing part of your journey, think about times when you failed before and then you succeeded. The classic example that I love to use, and many people love to use, is like children when they're learning to walk. How many times do they fail? Or toddlers when they're trying to walk. How many times do they fail? Right? They keep falling and falling and keep going. Right? They know it's part of the journey. But then as adults, we have all this like, oh, I'm going to be judged and all this kind of shit. Right? But it's like, you were going to fail, but it's about moving forward anyway. Number two, pick something that feels good. Right? That just feels good. And move forward with that. And it doesn't have to, you don't have to know the answer. You don't have to know like all the path that's mapped out. You don't have to know everything, but just pick something that feels good and be able to move forward with it. Right? So that would be my next suggestion, is picking something that feels good for you, and then you can just see how that pans out. That's what's worked really for me. It's not about figuring out, okay, this will happen by this. There's so many of us get caught in this, and I've been guilty of it, of this like, right, this has to happen in this order and everything has to happen this way in life, right? And it's got to lead me to there. That's not how life works. Life works by being clear on what you want, I've discovered, and it may change over time. That's okay. And then just feeling what's the next good move. But like the opportunities, the jobs, the career, the business, the side stuff, the people I've met, I could never have forecast any of that stuff. I just like knew what I wanted in one stage of my life, another stage, and I'm like, okay, the next obvious thing is to do that. And then it might lead me onto another path. So stop trying to map out everything in advance, and know that just focus on what feels good and take that next step, no matter what shows up. Number three, celebrate the effort, not the outcome. Now, of course, you can celebrate the outcome when it happens as well. But if the outcome is not preferable to you, i.e. like it's like failure, you call it failure, or it's not where you want it to go, or you're not getting the results you wanted, celebrate the effort, because that's going to encourage your nervous system, you to do more of it when you celebrate the effort and not the outcome. And number four, learn and get inspiration from others. Like, I often think, like, I've been caught up in this. I like to be real and share this. Like, I've been doing a lot of promotion recently on my stuff, right? And yeah, I get some business somewhere and then I don't get any results, or minimal results in another area, and I get sort of like average somewhere else. And it's like, I feel like I put out a lot and then I won't get a result sometimes in some areas. And then I actually look at it and I think like, wow, you've been doing that for a week and you've not had the results. Now, a week's not a very long time of consistent effort. And this is the problem. I could have made this a point on its own, but I'm going to merge it with what I'm going to say. We have this instant gratification that we see everyone, and then you can get a jet in like overnight and become a millionaire. No, that's not what happens, right? But like, even though people aren't saying that, it seems like that because you just see someone with all these possessions, right? It takes time. But then when you look at someone as inspiration and see like how they overcame barriers and failures and all these kind of things, it can really reinforce us to keep going. If you look at like Walt Disney, how many times rejected, and Banks, Walt Disney was rejected before made the idea work. If you look at, is it Colonel Sanders, the KFC guy, like 65, like really struggled. Even Tony Robbins, who's one of my like top guys I listen to in personal growth, when he's 17 years old, went to multiple banks to get money for an event. Like, the perseverance in that is incredible. And there's Sarah Blakely, who's like a billionaire, and she founded Spanx, which is like a huge brand. Like, she just kept going out and getting rejection, and like her ideas weren't working until it did, right? If you listen to anyone who succeeds in anything, they keep failing until they succeed. So don't get caught up in this instant gratification crap that is absolute lie, and we don't even realize it, that things are going to, if it doesn't happen over a week, it's not going to happen, because that's stupid, and we get caught up in that. But instead, look at people for inspiration and examples. So those are the points I really want to share about why failing quicker can be the answer, because it actually takes you onto a path. It takes you on to realizations. You learn things. And maybe on the way you learn what you enjoy and what you don't. Well, actually, not maybe, you do as you go along the way. So the tips I'm going to suggest is knowing it's part of your journey. Number 2, pick something that feels good and just take the next step. Don't have to map out your path. Number 3, celebrate the effort, not just the outcome. And then number 4, get inspiration from other people, because if other human beings have got it in them, you've got it in you as well to overcome failures and resilience. So that's what I got for you today. Wanted to talk about failing quicker and how that leads you onto success and clarity. So thank you for being here. I appreciate you. And remember to lead with your heart and not with fear.